in terms of colonoscopies, mammographies, PSA tests, which common medical tests do you recommend, and which do you think, assuming someone's eating the diet and lifestyle you're recommending, which of these medical tests would you recommend that they do, and which medical tests would you recommend we do, and which would you recommend we don't, starting with colonoscopies, mammographies, PSA tests?
Well, that's a hard question because you have to clarify what you mean. If people have history, you obviously can't be cavalier and say to them, you don't do the test. So some of these tests, we all know they have side effects. But the truth of the matter is they're necessary evils at points. So if somebody has a history of colon cancer, they come to us and somehow they reverse it, what do we say? Just believe you reversed it? So they're going to have the test at some point. And I would say they should have a test, not consistently, but at least every 6 months for the first 2 years, and maybe every 3/4 to a year after that for the first 5 years, and then maybe after that every 2 years. If you look at mammograms, I mean, there's no question that mammograms, because you listen to the debate within mainstream medicine, is 15% false readings. We see it all the time. People come to us who don't have cancer, they're being told, and vice versa. They have full blast cancer, you can see it, and they're being told they don't have cancer. Thermography is great, but how many people can really interpret thermography well? That's a mistake I've seen made quite a bit. So I trust some of the people very, very much, but they're not many of those people I know. It doesn't mean they're not there. I don't know. If you look at virtual colonoscopies, I'd much prefer a person does that than a normal colonoscopy. But again, that involves a CAT scan. Yeah, that involves a CAT scan with it. So, I mean, I think, look, at where modern medicine shines, let's be really clear about that, is diagnostically. And in emergency medicine, God bless them. I think the only real doctors, anyone that calls ourselves doctors, are jokers compared to ER doctors. They sit there and save lives every day, and they're wonderful doctors. But the truth of the matter is, I think it's time that we get together. We try to improve that. There are new types of mammograms that give very little to no radiation, I've been told. It's just employing them, getting them in. There's new scanning that they're doing with digital scanning that won't have these residual effects. And we shouldn't be fighting anymore. We should basically be at a round table and saying, what are you really good at? Now let's let your ego and the money and all of the other concerns be at the door. Let's let your influence from the corporations and business. What are you really good at? We're all good at lifestyle. We should be the first approach always. But then, do you throw out the emergency room doctor? No. Because I may have an accident. Even as a vegan. It's rare, but you may have a heart attack. You may have a stroke. So I think it's time that we all grow up and quit having pissing matches and basically say to one another, let's create a healthcare system that's a healthcare system that supports you in every way possible. And the money that would be saved and the lives that would be saved, it's endless. I can't even imagine. I can't fathom what a difference there'd be.
Maybe I'll take a crack on adding something. First of all, like you said, all these tests have risks and can hurt people. People could have their colon perforated with a colonoscopy, And the question is, have you been eating an American diet your whole life, and are you at risk of getting colon cancer? Is that risk of having your colon perforated worth it, or getting an infection from a colonoscopy worth it? Probably, if you're eating the American diet, it's probably better to find the polyps and remove them. You should get a colonoscopy. But am I going to get a colonoscopy? No way would I ever get a colonoscopy.
We heard you like them.
Yeah. I'm not going to take that risk. I've been eating a healthy diet since I'm a teenager. Since I've been since I was 10 years old. I would never get it. So I'm saying, why would I take that risk of a colonoscopy? No way.
Yes.
Yes. So it has to be individualized to a person's risk, number one. And number two, you have to have a realistic expectation of what the test can do. And that mammograms simply don't detect early stage cancers. They detect cancers that can be seen by you and I that have been there more than 10 years already, that are now most likely, if they are a cancer, they're most likely metastasized already, and they're not going to. And mammograms, if you look at the independent analysis, don't have a significant effect at overall extending lifespan in the population. But we have a whole new wave of tests that are going to be coming out in the next 5 years, which is liquid biopsies, going to be able to detect cancer in the early stages, maybe 10 years before a mammogram can. And then people are going to be left with the option of, what do I do? Have my breasts cut off, or have my colon removed, or what are we going to do? We're going to find out that this is why mammograms don't matter that much, is because almost all women in America over the age of 50 have breast cancer already, and the mammogram doesn't pick it up. So I can assure you, if you're concerned about that, and men come to me, they say, my PSA is high. Should I worry about colon cancer? I'm sure about, prostate cancer? I say, just assume you have prostate cancer, and let's try to reverse it.
Exactly.
Because you probably, well, most men are going to have it. Just because the test doesn't show it doesn't mean you don't have it. Just because your mammogram is clean doesn't mean you don't have breast cancer. You probably, if you're eating American food and you're over the age of 50, you probably have breast cancer anyway. So in other words, these tests that have come out in the years to come are going to show that so many people have cancer they don't realize it. And we're not going to treat these cancers with chemotherapy. They're too early on. We're not going to cut off everybody's breast. And what we need to do is get people eating right, because early stage cancer is a reversible condition. So whether you have the test or not isn't the main question even. You know, the main question is, why aren't you living a lifestyle to prevent these diseases to begin with? That's the most important thing.
But the problem here is, and everything he says is 1,000,000% true, is the doctor doesn't know to tell you that.
Right.
So when do we how do we get it so that we have lifestyle medicine doctors are not a group of 8,000 doctors who have to cloister together and pat each other on the back? That's mainstream medicine. When do we get, you know when we get there? When you, the public, worldwide demands it. That's when we get there. And until you demand it, that's going to be what you get.
So certainly we're saying here that your health is in your control, and don't rely on the medical profession to diagnose you with these diseases when they're already very advanced and then have it reversed. That's not the time to do it. The time to do it is fix your life right now and prevent yourself from getting sick.